Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to Zycel's Tech Talk and finding out what's new in our award-winning USG FLEX H Series product. Um, just a quick housekeeping. Please, if you'd like to ask any questions, please use the Q&A section and send me any questions you may have, and I will try to answer them in line. But today we're going to talk about what's new, also kind of review what the USG FLEX H Series is, and then also have a little bit of a detailed comparison on what has been developed over the last, couple of years here, so you can kind of see the path and where we sit today with the latest release about a week or about 10 days ago, last month that we released for the H series, um, which includes a lot of kind of features that we've been waiting for, but also to get it on board with on the Nebula platform in a way that many of our partners have grown to love, on how to onboard and auto provision these kinds of products. So just a quick introduction of who we are. Just maybe a quick show of hands. How many of you use today the USG FLEX H? I just wanted to see about how many, what's kind of the people who are here. If any of you guys are using that today. Oh, thank you, Harold Gilbert. Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. Okay, cool. Um, so it just gives me an idea of how, how many people are currently using it. Just a fact. Uh, we are have transitioned. We have transitioned to the USG Flex H series, pretty much, except for maybe the 500 and the 700, since we still do have stock. Those products are still supported. They're not officially end of life or anything. It's end of marketing for the 100 and 200, because we are out of stock and we're not bringing in any new product to replace those. So those are transitioned to the H series. We do have some 500s and 700s left. Um, just so you know too, when we do announce like the end of market for those models, then there's still, from a support standpoint, some from the security support, any vulnerabilities, things like that. Features will still be added over the next 2 years, but then the security licenses and UTM services, etc., is committed 5 years after. So the end of life, basically, it will be 5 years after we announce like the end of marketing of the product. So that's coming probably sooner than later. So, but at least even if you sold the USG Flex legacy today, you will still, your customers will enjoy that product supported for the next 5 years. So that should cover most contracts that you might have with the customer. And probably in 3 or 5 years anyways, you'll probably be looking at, leapfrogging and jumping to the whatever might be the latest technology at that time. But I think in most cases, businesses, um, they just look for stability and they want it to work. And so a lot of the security products, what I find is in general with our partners is that they last for a long time. And so many of our partners have firewalls that have been in there 10, 15 years now from Zycel, and they still work for the customer as long as, from a security standpoint, they have things that are taken care of, and we have commitment to support those things, then they're okay. But we know that there's some of the very legacy models, like probably 2 generations ago, that don't have the support for the UTM. So we want to get those customers up to speed, and going to the H series would be their best option for, maybe I would say, longevity standpoint. But enough of that introduction there. Another introduction to who Zycel is, if you're not familiar with who we are. Been in business over 35 years now at Zycel Networks, 100 million devices making connections with 700 plus employees worldwide, serving 150 markets, and over 1 million businesses use Zycel solutions today. We are a channel friendly vendor where we work with you through distribution and provide you support directly as well. So David, Andy, and Jacob in their regions are your main points of contact, as well as if you want to bring in the sales reps from the distribution side as well. We work hand in hand with them to help you with everything you need, from pre-sales, post-sales, systems engineering support, stocking, special pricing, deal registrations, all of that. We're here to help you with your needs. So definitely utilize these folks here to get what you need. and for us to assist you to making this ISO solution be the right fit for your customers. And so, uh, from a security perspective, I think the biggest bottleneck that we deal with, and maybe you might be encountering now, is customers going to gigabit speeds or even up to 2.5 gigs or even higher. I would think 2.5 gigs is becoming more of a norm, though gigabit is probably still going to dominate mostly because service providers themselves, it's easiest to provide a gigabit connection with the existing kind of infrastructure and technology, not having to get to a 10 gig in interface in order to provide you even 2.5 gig, especially let's say fiber to the home, fiber to the business, etc. Uh, the global average of WAN right now is only 210 megabits down, 62 megabits up, but that's been growing about 20% every year. So at some point, the firewall is going to be a bottleneck for your customers because they've upgraded or they like to upgrade to a higher speed. Maybe it's not the download speed that's the concern. Maybe it's the upload speed because people are hybrid working or they are working remote or from home, and their download speeds is the business's upload speeds. So in order to improve those experiences, businesses have to get to kind of a synchronous speed or get a higher bandwidth service that gives them better upload speeds. But maintaining security, or at least high level of security, is a concern. I think partners like yourself, we as professionals need to do our due diligence to inform our customers that security and network security is important. It's like insurance per se. You kind of need it. You should always have it, and you might not always use it, but it needs to be there in order to protect you. And in fact, network security is always protecting you in some way, shape, or form from denial of service attacks, ransomware, malware, giving you visibility on what's happening in your customer network before it's too late. Many customers today are dealing with ransomware machines and don't have either backups or don't even have information or visibility of how that could have possibly happened. But having a proper security appliance within the network, or at least a security solution within your network, can help to inform you and provide you the services, that information that you need to provide to your customers to give them adequate protection. Bitdefender says that cybersecurity threats will continue to be a challenge. It's always a challenge. It constantly evolves. They find new ways to get in, especially now with remote workers. It's another angle that you can take to make it sound, very important that they take care of these things. And next thing you know, they've been fished through an email, through a text, through a phone call, those kinds of things. And that many businesses are becoming now victims of ransomware. Maybe from your perspective, it's okay for your customers to get ransomed per se, because then it's work for you. But in many cases, if you are the security provider, if you are managing the service for the customer, or you've installed this, product or firewall to your customer prem, and you did not do due diligence to protect it or enable the features or the functions required, and to give it a high level of protection, then they may be very upset, obviously, to come after you and blaming you as the MSP. Why did I get ransomed? And so it becomes a headache for you because you're having to fix it for the customer or lose them in that process. And at the same time, it's very difficult for you to say, well, yes, it was, my fault potentially, but I need to charge you to fix this, right? So there's going to be that issue that you might end up running into if it's not properly taken care of and you don't have your policies and such in place, and remediation policies on what you do when certain things happen. So I think it's very important for you to take that security stance and focus on all of that and make sure that there's resilience, there's some level of automation from the security side with signatures, with updates, not only on the firewall side, but then also on the device side. So making sure that IoT devices and the laptops are all up to date to the latest signatures or latest security patches, etc. So we want to defend against things like even ransomware as a service, and those are basically popping up, can be generated. You can make them on the fly, right? And even with AI today, you can create those kinds of things to cause issues. And using a global security ecosystem with real-time cloud device intelligence that shares information across the ecosystem means that if somebody does detect something or within a sandbox somewhere in the world detects a threat, then that could be passed on and shared amongst the other devices in the world that are using this as well. So UTM and sandboxing is very important, I think, to help overall with everything from related to security on that 0-day basis, and it helps to facilitate protection for all customer environments. And just as a reminder, Zycel is a CNA, which is a CVE numbering authority. What that means is that we have been allowed to create all of those CVE vulnerability numbers, right? So when something happens within our products, we are obligated and authorized to create these numbers. And what it does is it gives you information on what devices may be potentially vulnerable, what's the remediation, the time frames on when firmware patches, etc., or the risk level that is there. So we work with the national database there and provide this information to our partners. And so we think that that is very important for us as a vendor in our commitment to making sure that our products are secure. And when things are not secure for whatever reason or reported by somebody, that we take action and we provide that information to our customers and our partners. And so that leads us to our new generation of firewalls. It's for secure protection. Our USG FLEX series, one of our newer models is the USG FLEX 50H in the HP that we just launched. These are high performance for kind of the small office, small home office. If you're looking for a cost-effective product that has UTM on the kind of the lowest end possible, I would think for UTM. It's integrated PoE as well, models that are the HP, and it's also manageable in the cloud with the smart sync capability, and also with the latest release, you actually have the the Nebula provisioning out of the box as well. Arnell asks, will Nebula for MSP see a dashboard that shows all clients instead of selecting each client one by one? Do you currently have MSP View right now? The MSP View you can showcase, like there is the dashboard when you do log in with the MSP View. So sorry, Nebula for MSPs, in order for you to get that view that shows all clients into a single dashboard, you have to get the MSP license. It basically is the higher level. You have your master account that has your main account that has the all your organizations and all of your customers, and you can click and choose each one of those. But the MSP view also gives you like a higher tier level view within that dashboard as well. And you can click between them. While you're in any one of those orgs, you can go to any one of the other orgs if you choose in the top, like kind of the top left drop down menu. So Arnell, in order to get the MSP view, I think you can reach out to your sales rep. There is an MSP license pack that it does have a 30-day demo as well. So maybe we help you to enable that, so then they can and see if that fits your needs from an MSP view perspective. There's a yearly license to get that MSP view. You basically need that one license per account that needs that view. But what it does is give you a bunch of different advantages as well. So I won't go too deep into that, but it does give you the higher level of assigning different admins to different organizations, etc. So it helps you manage it in a higher level way to make it easier for you to get like the reports that you need and such like that, to managing multiple organizations. You can do that already with the Pro Pack. You don't need the MSP view, but it does give you some nice helpful tools if you do have, let's say, 15 or 20 organizations that you want to better manage, or if you have, let's say, 3 to 5 admin technicians within your company to managing all of your customers. MSP View is probably also a good thing to consider and have. All right, so the 50, we also have our award-winning then our flagship model, the 700 USG FLEX 700H. It boasts a 15 gigabit performance on the SPI firewall with 4 gigs of full UTM throughput. It's AI powered with the cybersecurity UTM functionalities and enhanced traditional UTM. So all your antivirus, malware, ransomware blocking, content filtering, anti-spam, those kinds of things, all within the UTM performance box. It's integrated with PoE Plus, so there's 2 ports there that can provide you 30 watts of power budget that you can put an access point, put cameras or a PoE device, any kind of PoE device you might want to use there. We've had customers also consider and use like a LTE 5G like router for backup as well in that PoE port to give it power as well as give it the data functionality. It also has 2 10 gig SFP plus ports if you need to uplink to kind of a 10 gig network. All of these ports here are like 2.5 gig on the switch, and it's also cloud manageable within the Nebula Cloud platform um, and auto provision now. So it says April, but that was for the smart sync part of it. It's also powered by AI, cybersecurity intelligence. So we have AI Secure Pilot that powers insights on information on what might be threats within the product or within the network and provide you that information. It can monitor and identify these threats and identify abnormal user behaviors. The cool thing that you can do, especially if you have the Pro Pack, is you are able to customize these reports. So we always have customers who say, well, from an from a security standpoint, how do I justify this insurance or this security service to my customer every month? They're paying me a monthly fee. This report is hands down the best way that you can justify and show, proof that it's doing something. Right now, network security, it's maybe doing something, but how do I know it's even blocking anything, or is it even useful? With this report, you can customize it, put your own logo, provide this report to your customer along with their bill, and say, hey, this is how many threats we've blocked against. These are all the ransomwares. This is your most visited website by your employees, how much traffic they've been using. All of that information you can customize into this widget and report and provide that to your customer. And that's integrated also within our Nebula platform. So you can switch to this secure reporter and get both report information, but then also use it to troubleshoot. If you do have some sort of maybe breach and you're going back and trying to audit the information and data as best as possible, that's also stored within this secure reporter. It's done in the cloud, so you don't have to add any kind of servers or anything like that to your prem or to your network stack in order to get all of this information. It's reported all directly from device to that cloud service. What's the name of that report again? It's called Secu Reporter there, Ryan. So Secu Report or Secu Reporter, and it's integrated as part of, if you do have the bundled license for your firewall today, it is included. You just have to enable that it's logging and that you have the account that's, so you can see those reports for that site. And so there should be a menu within the Nebula platform if you're using Nebula today. You can use it on standalone or on-prem as well, but it's been much better. Yeah, so it's basically like another. It's like another sub-site, I would say. It links from Nebula over to the Secu Reporter side. So the security constantly evolves. Like I mentioned, how do you make sure that you maintain against the latest threats? And and how do you maintain, let's say if you're managing hundreds or thousands of firewalls, how do you maintain that security posture for your customers? Well, we're doing all the work for you. As long as you've enabled it to auto update, to check for the latest signatures, things like that, you're able to get all that information updated very quickly, very easily, and provide multiple layers of protection. So we use empower our devices with some of the best in class cybersecurity experts out there. Some of the names that you can see here, where they provide the app patrol, IP reputation, the sandboxing, the web filtering, because threats are no longer just IP threats. They're all sorts of threats. Application side, they're using signatures to try to get to databases. They're using malware. They're using phishing, functions, etc. So you have to kind of attack holistically against all those layers of attack. And the only way to do that is to have multiple layers of defense. And so that's what these partners provide for us and provide to us to do that. The product line comes in Obviously a different layers. You have your 50 HPs and then stretches all the way up to the 700H. You can see it's basically throughput and performance driven, which kind of puts it in a different kind of class. So what I would advise for you if you're new to any kind of like security appliances, usually if you want to do full security, you look at the worst case scenario in terms of performance, which is the AV IPS. It's scanning every packet that's going through to make sure that it's clean and it's not some sort of malware or a virus, etc. So you look at that number, and you can see on the 50 here, it says 600 megabits per second. But that's the theoretical max number in a lab with multiple sessions. So the real life throughput, I would say, I usually take as a rule of thumb is 50 to 60% of this number. So this USG Flex 50H would be great with full UTM for a customer who has like a 300 to 350 megabits per second internet connection WAN. So that's where you place that. Whereas the USG Flex 700H with full UTM, you're looking at probably 2.5 gigs of UTM performance. So that way you're not bottlenecking your internet speed, maximizing those internet speeds for your customers at that. But you also have to think to the port in itself. So these have 2.5 gig ports, and then two of them are 2.5 gig ports, and then two of them are 10 gig ports, and the other eight are gigabit ports. So on the gigabit ports, the maximum that a single gigabit port would get is 1 gig, right? Even though it's supporting 2.5 gigs of full UTM. But let's say you do have three, 2 to 3 gigabits ports that are all utilizing full max speed download, then you'll be able to see, close to 2.5 to maybe 3 gigs of throughput for those three separate ports, right? So maybe a person who's sitting on the 2.5 gig port would see a single session that will do 2.5, but someone who's on a gigabit port will only see a single port or a single session, max 1 gig. So you're still limited by the physical port itself, but the overall throughput of the entire device as a whole can meet up to 2.5 to 3 gigs of UTM services. Now, if you're not doing UTM services, of course, then you're just looking at the SPI firewall or whatever is most important to you. IPsec tends to be a little bit of a lower number than even the UTM, but that's okay because you're not necessarily, for that kind of service, you might not, you're not trying to go and push to whatever your full max is. It's just what it is, when somebody's using a VPN. So in this case, it's probably, 1.5 to 1 to 2 gigs of throughput, which is probably plenty for most people's internet connections today. The business might have a larger one, but most people at home might not have that. So that's what you would do. So take 50 to 60% of this number for full UTM and use that as your guidance on what to install to your customer. People always say, well, I only have like 5 people in that location, but I do have a 2.5 gig connection. Well, unfortunately, those 5 people, it's not about the 5 people so much as it's it's the 2.5 that you need on the UTM if you want services there. So that's just a guideline on that. And one of the features that we've just added in our latest release this month is the Nebula setup without unboxing. So you can register your device via the mobile app or with the MAC address serial before and pre-configure the security appliance like the wireless LAN and the switches in Nebula before you even unbox it. Now, there is a caveat. If you do have existing units out there, in your warehouse in storage, they don't have the latest firmware yet that supports this. So in order to do this, technically, you would have to upgrade to the 1.35, the UOS 1.35 for your H series, or go through the wizard to get the update. Then it will do it. So it's not necessarily yet, with your current product that's, in your warehouse to set it up, out of the box. It needs that firmware in order to be able to call home to the Nebula first in order to do that. So you might have to upgrade it first, and then once it's upgraded, then they're ready to go for when you are ready to do the install. But in the future, of course, the products that are going to be leaving the warehouse, we're working with our factories and such to make sure that the latest firmware that has this support is loaded within the H series firewalls today. And then once that all is available, and then, that's probably going to be over the next couple months, we might have inventory that's in distribution that's still kind of rogue, kind of sitting there and moving around that might not have the latest update. So uh, just keep that in mind. But once it's there with a few simple clicks, you can be up and running. You can use your mobile app to scan those. You can also use the mobile app to look deeper into those features and functions. Oh, interesting. Well then, okay. So let me see. Let me see if I can override this. For some reason, that those slides had some weird advances on them, like or auto advances. Let me see if I can remove any of those. Sorry about that. Let's see. That was quite interesting. I don't have any, it didn't show anything to advance or any timers that are on these slides. Interesting. So let me see if I can go back. Let me go back. No. Um, oh man. Well then, let me do something really quick. Uh, let me try to do something really quick on the fly here. So this is let me try to just reset it to something else real quick. Um, let's see if this works. Nope, it's still advancing. I don't know why it's auto advancing here. Uh, but what I was going to show you was I was going to show you the kind of the details of each one of these specs. Um, so let me try to, I'm going to try it real quick again. If I can't recreate it real quick, give me just a moment. Thank you for your patience. Uh, there's no animations. There's no, hmm, quite interesting. I don't know why it's like auto. There's no auto timer. Oh man, it wasn't doing this earlier. So, hmm, let's see. There's no auto advance. So I can't keep it there. Yeah, there's no auto advance. Oh man. Well, let me see this. Well, let me do this. I will share something else here. Hold on. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna edit this on the fly. We're gonna be working on the fly here. Uh, uh, give me just another moment. I'm almost there because I think this is important. I think this information that's here, especially for our customers, we want to make sure that you know uh, kind of the differences that we have within the different firmwares, and then what's new, especially the new features that are different that we've just recently added. Um, so that way, it makes it kind of easy for you to see what's the difference or why is it important that we even have new firmware. So it adds new features and functionalities, but a lot of our customers today, we've been waiting for, have been waiting for some of those functions, especially the auto provisioning part, and then some of the other, you know, added features there. So there we go. Look at that. We have the technology. So um, let me put out my laser pointer as well. So this gives you kind of an overview of what we've been through, kind of the different uh, releases that we've had in the past, all the way back. We just had our July release, which is the one that I'm talking about, the UOS the 1.35. And you can see many of the features that are already there. We are planning IPv6 functionalities in the future here uh, from that perspective. And secure tunneling is coming in the 2026 side if you're doing secure tunnels. Uh, but all the details, what we've added recently today, um, we go through, let's see, all the port groups. So your static, your external WANs, the MDU connectivity checks, option 60. So the one that we recently added was link aggregation by group. That was the functionality there. The main one is that auto provisioning function that I mentioned earlier, being able to auto provision products without unboxing. So that when you turn it on for the first time, it actually will call Nebula first to say, hey, do I belong in Nebula? And if it does, then it will take the Nebula configuration from there that you've configured. Otherwise, it'll take you to kind of the on-prem configuration. And if you configure it from the box, you can do that as well. And then it will auto sync to the cloud. And then now you can manage it within Nebula or on the box itself. Either way, it's a single configuration. It's just, kind of the path that you take. Arnell does ask, with the migration tool, do we just back up the old router configuration and import into the new? So the migration tool, there's instructions on how to do it. Basically, you upload your old router configuration and choose the conversion on which model that it was from and what you want to get it to, and it will create a new configuration file. If you ever open any of those files, anyways, they're pretty much text like CLI. It's much like the other vendors that are out there that have text-based configuration files. So you can manually edit within those as well if you need to. But this configurator tool will help you get, I would say, a lot of the way to there. Now, if you're doing very complex policies and you have kind of weird VPN, things like that, it's probably not recommended. It will help you get maybe the baseline up, but you still want to check to make sure that those policies that you had originally made in the old one, if they're complex policies, to make sure that they translated correctly, or if they translated at all. So it does tell you, the tool does kind of help you with that, for that information. So from a feature perspective, like I said too, like we have supported a lot. Link aggregation group came in fairly recently, started in the April patch, and then July, continued that. So April was probably the major one in terms of the feature set. You can see that was missing before, like layer 2 isolation, but now it's available within the current. We don't currently support yet the GRE tunneling part of the network, or virtual server load balancing. Now, if any of these features you're like, oh, I absolutely need this, um, let us know, because in the past, the products that we had in the past may have supported some of these, but we found out that many of them, like the features that were not even used by our customers. So we're prioritizing what is absolutely needed and then bringing those in as quickly as possible, versus just bringing everything and making everybody wait for features that they're not even using. So over time, of course, it's going to build up to what 90%, 95, 99% of the customers out there really need or use. So instead of just having a bunch of features that nobody even cares about, but if you do care about it, please let us know so that we can help to prioritize that. Dynamic routing, et cetera, like BGP, OSPF, that's also planned in a future release as well. But most people aren't doing, RIP OSPF type stuff, because that's more on the internet side routing, whereas we were just taking from the ISP. We're working on the local side, LAN interface there. Site-to-site VPN, it's pretty much complete. There, remote access VPN, L2TP over IPsec is not supported. We want customers to use IPsec completely It's because also most of the providers out there no longer support L2TP because of, it's not as secure. There is some native Ike v2 client provisioning that's supported. SSL VPN is supported, but you have to use the VPN client that we provide you, which gives you both IPsec and SSL VPN. Now, if you already have a client that does both, then I would suggest that you use IPsec. It's a lot more efficient and it's a lot faster than SSL VPN. We also, in the latest releases here, now support Tailscale VPN. So if you use any of their services, it makes it very easy to onboard and to bring on VPN connections for your clients. Bandwidth control, bandwidth link aggregation, and all that now is supported. We don't yet support the 802.1p. So I know these are a lot of details, but what I'm trying to say is that you probably don't even know what an 802.1p marking is, and probably don't even use it. And so just know it's on our radar, but it's not yet prioritized into into a current pending release. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to be released at all. It might just be further down the road that I'm not showing here, because a lot of that can change, right? Captive portal on the interface that's there for specific addresses. It's going to come on the next release. So some of our partners have always been like, well, I want 100% support for everything, out of the box, and out on release, or these new firmwares. But realistically, we have to build it up to get to that point. And if some of these features, don't affect 80, 90% of our customers, then we have to facilitate what is needed most first to get that out and make it as stable as possible, to make sure that those customers obviously can utilize. But it doesn't mean we don't want to help, right? We want to make our product as complete as possible. It supports two-factor authentication. If you want to do two-factor with external Active Directory or LDAP servers or by email, then that's coming out in October. And the captive portal with an Entra ID or cloud authentication, that's also coming in October. So we still have new features that are coming that wasn't supported at all before, and now it's going to be supported in the next release, or it's already supported today. So most of these features, again, if you're looking at it, we just added in this new release the DNS safe search part of it for the web content filtering, which wasn't there before. But now you can enable a DNS safe search on the content filtering side. And all the anti-malware, the sandboxing insights, all device high availability, that's already been supported since January this year. The Nebula onboarding, that's the other piece that I had mentioned. The onboarding function, the auto pre-configuration. So its onboarding was already there in the app, but pre-configuration wasn't supported before, but now it's supported within the 1.35 firmware released. You can see again in the April was our major release with the link aggregation, auto VPN, custom VPN, NAT routing, security, all within the Nebula side. Whereas you could still configure any of these features and functions that you see in the product on the on-prem interface. So when you save a configuration for something that is not on the Nebula cloud side, you can do it on the device. And when you do save it, the configuration is actually saved and synced with Nebula, because again, it's one configuration. And all it's doing is, the only reason you can't configure it in Nebula is we don't yet have the interface. The web page is not built to pull that config data into a editable interface for you on the Nebula side. And so those features, if required, if it's one of those like major features that we think our customers will majorly benefit from having it within Nebula, or like majority of our customers really want that, then we will put it into the GUI interface on the Nebula side. Of course, anything that's normally always in a GUI will be there anyways. It might just take a little bit more time, but there are certain advanced features and configurations that you can do with our H series, either on the CLI side or on the standalone or on the on-prem config GUI that's not in the Nebula, but you can still do it within the device. So it still gives you that flexibility. It still gives you the security of knowing that even though you made a configuration change on the device, it's now synced automatically to the cloud. We don't have plans yet for the full hotspot with printer and active billing within the H series as we did with the Flex models. So but we are moving the captive portal functionalities into the Nebula side. So if you do want captive portal, we've enhanced the captive portal side on the Nebula. And of course, authentication, DNS, and all the language supports there have always been there. Gilbert does have a question. Are there any plans to support Let's Encrypt certificates and auto renewal? When you say auto renewal, do you mean auto renewal of the encryption certificates? Um, I don't know. We'd have to take a look at that. I don't know if we've looked into the Let's Encrypt certificates. I'm assuming those are probably an easier way to get self-signed instead of self-signed certificates, actual certificates for your firewalls to do the encryption. Um, and so if you do have that request, please send it to me. I do have my email at the end, so I could take a look at that and check with our product management or our R&D to see what does it take. Um, a lot of certificates that are out there today are loadable as long as there's like standard certificates to go into the device to be registered. So I don't know if it's just a matter of that certificate being supported or just maybe a certain way you have to import it. They're valid for 3 months period, have the ability to auto renew. Okay, so it makes it easier for you to manage certificates through them without having to go through and do do your authority certificates every year. Let's look into that. So send me an email. I have my email address at the end, and so I will ask and take a look at that. File management for maintenance, and other features. Again, we're pretty much on par with what's there and fully operation. So we're now to a point where we're starting to work on more new features to enhance the product. And so again, if there are certain functions, certain feature sets that you might find um, valuable, maybe you might see other places, please let us know because we're looking to make sure that our product is as enhanced as possible. Is hotspot management just not available on Nebula side, but available on device? No, the hotspot management, like where it has the printer and the billing, the auto billing, like or integration with like a billing service, etc. That's not currently supported on-prem or on the Nebula side. The only thing that is supported is the Nebula side um, captive portal and the integrations that they have with the provisioning. They don't have the billing piece. They don't have the printer, the thermal printer function on the Nebula side either. So you'll have to check. Um, we'll have to check to see that part of our business from the hotspot function with the billing had been kind of a degrading, I guess, or maybe like uh, not a used function very much like by our partners. They just needed a terms of service page, and most of those functions can be done even on the AP side now without even the firewall. Or there's some cloud service that they just redirect to, which we do that kind of authentication. So we will do the portal redirect functionality. We can send it off to a third party integrated page that has integration that then allows or sends back the right information for us to approve and the guest network guest access to get through. So we've been using that kind of functions now. Thank you, Arnell, for that question. So they did have the question about the automation tool. So we do have a converter tool that takes you to from an old or an existing ZLD firmware firewall going to the new UOS version of the H series. So you just basically pick which model you have, and it will tell you what's the equivalency to get to the newer version. So let's say, for example, you did use, let's say, USG FLEX 100. The natural conversion is to go to the USG FLEX 100H. But there might be some instances where you might have even one generation before, you might have to do a middleman conversion. So you would have to go from, let's say, a USG, not even a Flex, like a USG 110, and it goes to a USG Flex 200 and then to the 200H. So you might have to do kind of the incremental conversion to get it there. If the tool doesn't let you just jump skip right to the equivalency side there. But the tool is on our webpage. So if you do go to the H series, you'll find that at the bottom, or you can search for migration tool within the search bar. You'll also find that as well. But you can go to the USG FLEX H series page. At the very bottom of the page, there'll be like multiple kind of tabs or multiple icons or pictures that you can scroll through, and one of them will be like the configuration tool, and it will help you to get to the H series of your choice based on what you have, of course. And if you need help, reach out to our sales reps to say, hey, I have a USG Flex 200. Which one do I migrate to? In some cases, we've had customers where, because of the performance of the H series is up to 5x the times 5x the performance of the USG Flexes, they were able, based on their needs and their internet connection, to actually downgrade. So instead of going from a 200 to a 200H, because of the speeds of the 100H were even exceeding whatever the 200 was before, they downgraded per se to the 100H. I wouldn't recommend it because you want to future-proof yourself anyways, and it's in that similar price point. All of those models are in that same range, but it's up to you based on how you want to pitch it to your customers and what your customers need. Maybe they went to a 200 back then because that was what was available, and the 100H is now more suitable for what they really need from a cost perspective. So just take that into consideration. Let's see. Seth does have, if my USG Flex 200H unit has been upgraded to the new firmware settings, the settings don't show up in Nebula. Will this sync after the firmware update? Let me double check. Yes, it will. So let's say it's not to the newest firmware, but depends on how old. If you've already upgraded, Seth, to the April release already had cloud sync. So as long as it was there and it's registered to Nebula, those configurations were already synced to the cloud, and you would already have the ability to manage it there. But let's say even if it was older than the April release and you haven't updated yet, and you updated to the newest firmware, then yes, your settings will still stay, and then it will just sync it to the cloud at that point. This was working fine previously, but prior to the firmware update, it's not consistent for all units. So again, it depends on which, maybe you have to let us know, like maybe if you catch something like that, document it, or maybe document the next one you do upgrade to see what's going on. Like maybe you're jumping from January's firmware now to the April firmware or to the July firmware, and we'll have to take a look at that to see if there's any kind of misconfiguration or misconversions. But I haven't heard. So maybe if we can document it, that'd be great. Which switches are Nebula capable? So any of our products that say Nebula Flex in our product sheet or in the data sheet, usually the models are our like GS 1915 or the 1915 series. That's the lowest end Nebula capable switches. And as long as you're going with a cloud managed version, then it will do that. If you go 1900, like 1900s and below, those typically are not Nebula capable, though we do have like our 1350 series that are Nebula managed because they're a specialty like CCTV switch. Brandon also says, we like Nebula, so I'm happy to hear you're integrating more H model features in Nebula. Keep it up. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, it's a lot of work, obviously, because you have to balance R&D, you have to balance the features that customers need, and you have to balance like, any fixes or additions of things that, might have popped up in that process as well. So yeah, it's a constant thing, but it's better that we're releasing firmware, even though maybe some of our partners are saying we release firmware often. But we do have our plan is two major firmware updates, probably a year, usually in the April frame and in the October timeframe. And then there's always a chance for things in between, either to enhance or to patch fix. So if there is kind of bugs that came out or somebody reported some sort of vulnerability, it's a constant battle to release and make sure that you have the latest protection against things. So if there is a certain CVE that's released, we have to make and take action against that and release a general firmware to make sure that it fixes those kinds of things in the process. But we try to, you know, have those two major like new added features, and then there's probably two more kind of in-betweeners that can fall into place. Kind of like here, we had our January, then we had our major April, and then we had a July release to add that provisioning since most of our partners really wanted that, from the beginning. And so that's something we prioritize to try to expedite. And then we'll be back in our normal kind of phase where in October we'll have another major release of new features out there. So we work through the channel again, like I mentioned, through distribution, D&H, Ingram, TD Synnex, Wave, Target Distribution, and Blue Star. We want you to be a partner with us and take advantage of all of the extra benefits, especially the margin side. So being able to sell hardware and licensing for these services at a major discount, at a maximum discount there through the distribution channel. If you have any questions or if you'd like to connect with us, join us at Zycel-US-channel on LinkedIn, or you can go to YouTube on Zycel America channel where you'll find a copy of this video as well. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for Zycel Tri, that's TRI, and you'll find me there. And feel free to connect with me or request a connection there. I'd love to connect with you. Now, if you have any other questions, I know we had some budget questions already, but we do have a few minutes. If you do have some questions now, I hear there are hardware bundles available. So when you say hardware bundles, are you talking about like on the security side? So on the security side, we sell what was called hardware only, but actually it's no longer hardware only. The H series, even on the entry level, the base, it comes with what we call entry defense. So it gives you some level of like ransomware protection and DNS-based kind of protection and the Secure Reporter functionality on that base pack and that base entry. So there's no longer a hardware-only SKU. It's the same SKU, but now we include you or we provide you with a 1 year of entry pack. If you want to renew that entry defense pack, for any of the models, it's one license, one price. It's only a street price of $49.99. So for $50 a year street price, your customers can have a baseline of protection. So more than SPI firewall gives you some other levels of protection. But of course, we then sell a full UTM bundle, which includes a 1 year full UTM Gold license. And that gives you the Nebula Pro, gives you all those UTM services enabled, gives you that Secure Reporter, everything like that that you would need. And that works for both the standalone on-prem side and on the cloud. So that license is enabled. It's the same license that just works on either mode that you want. We do have, let's see, router, switch, and Wi-Fi bundles. We don't typically sell them. We do have a Nebula demo kit, so that's something I didn't include in here. But if you'd like to try out the H series, we are offering a free, risk-free 60-day trial of a bundled kit. So the Nebula bundle, that's the SMB Pro, is probably what you want to look into. The Nebula demo kit, the SMB Pro comes with a USG FLEX 200H. It comes with an XMG 1915 PoE switch that works in Nebula, as well as the WBE 130, or sorry, the NWA 130BE, and that is a Wi-Fi 7 access point that works in cloud. But you can ask for that demo kit. We will ship it to you for 60 days for no risk. If you'd like to keep it, you can buy it for 40% off, or you can ship it back. We'll give you a label, a return label. So the only risk that you have is the time that you spend to try to take a look at the product, try out the 200H, but more importantly, try out Nebula. The Nebula Cloud Platform is what really sets us different from a lot of the other vendors that are out there. Not only do we have a full complete network stack for the SMB, but we also then have this Nebula Cloud Platform that manages all 130 plus devices from a single pane of glass. So it becomes a great tool, great advantage. Even when the technology changes, you're able to move from the technologies quickly and easily, or to do replacements if you're doing a break fix type. And then we offer obviously a free option within the Nebula Cloud, as well as a paid version that gives you more enhanced features, the AI functionalities, and 365 days of logs. So everything you need for an MSP business is included within that Nebula platform. All you got to do is buy the hardware for it and then manage it within the system. So if there's no other questions, thank you for that question, by the way. If there's no other questions, if you do think of anything later on, you can email me, tri at zycel.com, and I would love to answer those questions. I know if you had that question back there, Gilbert, about the certificate. So yeah, email me, try at zycel.com with that Let's Encrypt certificate information. And I will take a look at that and see how we could potentially use that. I think that's been always a challenge for our customers from a certificate side is, you had to go find your own certificates and deal with that part of it if you didn't use the self-signed certificate part. So that makes it good there. Hey, Scott, I see you there. Let's see, Scott, when are you coming to Vegas again? Actually, I will be in Vegas, Scott, for the Wispapalooza show in third week of October. So maybe if you do have some time at that point to meet or to come to that Wispapalooza show or something like that, or around that venue, it's at the Paris / Horseshoe Convention Center. So maybe I know you don't like to go down to the Strip, but that's where I'll be. I will have a car, so maybe we do meet out later on after those show times, if to meet with some of our folks over in who are going to be coming up from our headquarters side. Ryan does have a question. Does the H series have a pre-configured template? So the H series itself has what we would probably call like almost best practice. Most of the things that should be closed is closed. Most of the SSL and Telnet, those kinds of things are closed. You do have to close a few other things if you're not using the GUI interface. You want to protect yourself from the WAN side access to your GUI, to your device interface. So most people will just block that or put it on some other encrypted port or a authorized only to certain IP addresses. So they create their own policies to do that. What we are working on, though, is we're trying to work on some Nebula Cloud templates for kind of best practice on a different application scenarios. So if you're looking for like PCI compliancy, we're going to create a template with the firewall that you can just cookie cutter. As long as you're on the pro license or in the MSP license, you can then cookie cutter that over to that new customer and then just change a few things that you need. But from out of the box perspective, the product in itself is already pretty locked down, and you just have to enable the services if you're choosing to use those services. Thank you for that. All right. Well, I will give you your 1 minute back, or maybe the next 45 seconds back before we end this webinar. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope you like this format. I like this more of that live stream kind of format. It makes it feel more interactive than you just looking at a slide. And I think it's fun, and it's nice to have folks who are here to be interactive and get their questions asked and answered as much as or best as possible. Hopefully this has been beneficial to you. And again, if you're looking for more information, please reach out to your sales reps over at Zycel. We're looking forward to being your network ally, network partner in what you do, and look forward to seeing some of you soon. Take care. Have a good rest of your day and afternoon.